What is your accidentally caught your spouse cheating horror story? Came back from a trip 4 hours early. Wife was supposed to be at work still. Opened the front door to see her sitting topless on the couch making out with a coworker. He ran out the door. She ran into a bathroom and locked the door. Sat on that couch for about an hour because I couldn't think what else to do. Finally just up and left. So she could come out of the bathroom and put a shirt on. Had been on the road for work. Was supposed to be 10 days. Got to go home a day early. Had a friend pick me up at the airport to surprise my wife and 2 children, 2 years and 8 months. Walked into my ex and her coffee friend snuggling on the couch. With my kids in the same room. I was livid. Of course she denied everything. We split up weeks later. Edit added years after 2 to avoid all the age questions. 2 weeks ago I sent a message to a mutual friend asking to borrow a router. He didn't answer. But no worries, he lives nearby. I'll just stop by and grab it. I pull up to his house and start heading down the driveway. He has a long country driveway, so it's a few seconds before I see my car. I drive a company vehicle during the day, already there. My heart began to sink. But they are friends. And business partners. Maybe it's nothing. I got out of my van and look up to see the other guy shirtless in his bedroom. At this point my heart is down on my stomach and I am visibly shaking. I go in and immediately head upstairs. He is alone. Now clothed. I say I came to borrow the router. Also, have you seen my wife? The car is here. He then proceeds to give the worst improv I've ever heard. No. She was here at some point though. Whatever, I knew she was there, I just wanted him to admit it. I go down. Take the router. And head back to the van where I finally encounter my wife topless trying to sneak around the side of his house. And now here I am. Edit, to all those wondering. I kept the router. Edit 2. It's a plunger router, forward working. Her phone got a text from her friend who was in the kitchen with her. So I assumed one of them sent it to me. Opened her phone to see a penis. Her friend doesn't have a penis. Now I'm divorced and don't trust texts from friends. I caught my ex thanks to ducking Pokemon Go of all things. And X200B. She mentioned Pokemon Go was using lots of her data. I explained that in her settings she could see how much data an app was using. I proceeded to show her and prove to her it wasn't by pointing out Tinder was using much more data. And X200B. It was sad but also funny the way it went down. And X200B. I've posted this before but it's still funny to remember. What up a Cayman ho? Found my wife's notebook. Written on the first page was a 10-step plan detailing how she was going to leave me for another guy. I turned it into 1 step. I got a new job with a cell phone company. Free phone for me, $15 a month for her. First bill comes in with call detail. She was on the phone an hour a day with this number while supposedly at work. I call. Dude answers. I hang up. I ask her. She lies and said it was a gal pal of hers. I told her I know she is lying and call it again. Dude answers. Duck you Brooke. One night she told me not to come over because she wasn't feeling well. But then my sister wanted this hoodie back that she'd borrowed. So I thought I'd stop over with chocolate and a Slurpee. I knocked on her door. She came to the upstairs window with only a blanket wrapped around her. I thought I told you not to come over. My sister needs her hoodie. Who's that, says some male voice from her bedroom. Ah. I see how it is. I'll talk to you tomorrow, she says. Probably not. Have a good one. Wait. What about your sister's hoodie? Yes. She threw it out the window to me. It was a cold walk home. After a week visiting friends in London, England, I flew back to Canada. I was supposed to do something with another group of friends when I got back. But plans fell through, so I drove the 4 hours home to the apartment we shared. She expected me home at 6 PM. I'd been up for 30 straight hours and got home at 6 AM. Wanting nothing more than to fall into bed. There was an extra set of feet attached to some asshole. When I walked in, girlfriend ran over her phone by accident and destroyed the screen. Asked me to back up all her stuff and transfer it to her new Pixel. Used backup tool that captures all sorts of dirty messages and nudes with another guy. We had a linked Apple account. We both had the Find My iPhone app. Figured out what all the late nights at work really were. I work for a major cell phone carrier and the amount of times people come in asking to get their Apple ID unlinked because they saw something they didn't want to see, from a sibling or kid usually, is honestly hilarious. Edit, spelling. One of my former co-workers loaded in a SD card with a scanned project file on it. He put it into the conference room PC. We were treated to naked pics of his wife ducking another guy. We were just stunned. This was in a senior budgetary meeting with the outside accountants and auditors. And he was sitting right there and we were looking at his wife and another guy going at it. I reached over and shut the projector off. Nobody said anything. He got up and walked out and drove off in his car. Left his phone and laptop sitting on the table. He wound up driving to his parents' house 3 states away. He was gone for a week. He gave my number to his side chick in case of emergency and she accidentally called me instead of him. A friend of mine literally walked in on his wife and another guy doing it on their sofa. I guess he just yelled what the duck and ran out. Facebook was a real chow for a few days, and she even had the gall to blame him back. The "all it's your fault I cheated." Luckily there were no children in that marriage and not much money to fight over. Walked in on my girlfriend while she was having sex with another guy. "What are you doing here?" she says. "You gave me a key. Remember? I ended up not working today and wanted to surprise you." 15 years later she reaches out. Leaves me a message that she'd like to talk. I figure she's doing some 12-step thing or something and wants to make amends. Nope. She wanted to try and sell me on Amway. I returned from work on Christmas Eve. We had tickets to a festival which started the day before and I couldn't find the tickets anywhere after seeing them the month before. I decided to double check the trash before we put it out for collection. I found a used condom. We lived on our own. Okay, so my ex was having computer problems and wanted to go on Facebook on my phone. No problem, but I made her use Safari so I wouldn't have to log out of the app. Anyways, couple days later I'm closing tabs on my phone and there is her Facebook still open. Well, I see she's chatting with her ex John. Turns out they banged in our bed and were gonna go out on a date soon. So in the messages he asked she wear something nice in the messages. I'm not the jealous type so I leave it for a couple days. Couple days go by and she wants to have sex. Well, we are kissing and getting hot and heavy. I whisper in her ear, "Don't forget John wants you to wear something nice on your date Saturday." The look of horror in her eyes was magical. I put my shirt on and start walking out as she's crying and saying she's sorry. Long story short, I suspected something for a few months. Like an idiot, I opened her phone while she was asleep and found exactly what I was looking for. Like you always do when searching through someone else's phone. Even with all of the texts right there to see, she still lied about it multiple times. She eventually admitted to it but downplayed it heavily. She told me about 2 nights ago that he asked her out on a date and she said I had to say no and was visibly sad about it. In the process of getting a divorce now. Hurts like hell. Woke up in the night with a bad feeling. Got out of bed and found my brother ducking my wife. Short. Devastating. To the point. What did you do? Out of curiosity? Short version is that I woke up in the middle of the night very suddenly. And sat up bolt upright. With the strong feeling that something was wrong. I listened intently. But could hear nothing. I looked at my dog. Who was a very good watchdog. And he was curled up asleep. I got up and dressed. And tried to see if I could smell smoke or hear anything from the street. I got up and walked through the building I was living in. Everything was silent and exactly as normal. But the feeling of what I can only describe as dread and near panic was getting stronger. I went through the building to where my wife had her own space. Because she was the first person I wanted to check. Her light was on and her bed was still made. The room was empty. The feeling was getting stronger by the moment. I then went to check on my brother. I could really feel that something was terribly wrong. That's when I caught my brother and my wife having sex. Went home and my husband wasn't home. Which was weird for him at 8 PM. When an hour earlier he had told me he was going home. Had a gut feeling. Went to one of our female friends, who he claimed was like a sister, apartment. His truck is there. I knock. No answer. Try the door. It's unlocked. Walk into the living room. Nobody there. Hear noises in the bedroom. Walk in and lo and behold, there they are. Tried to make it work over next couple of months. But I can't get past it. Didn't even want him to touch me. Divorced 4 years ago. Edit, our female friend, this was a mutual friend who we had both known for years. Went to HS with. Etc. After a night of trying to keep up with my ex and her co-workers drinking, I call it a night. They stopped talking a few minutes later and the dog scratched at the door. I let the dog in and saw them making out on the couch. I watched for 10 minutes before they noticed me. They were taking their clothes off by then. And he was touching her favorite spots like he knew them well. No denying it by then. I am glad I knew. A tense conversation followed with the two of them. He left. Very drunk on a very cold night. She got a ride to her aunt's place and begged me to go look for him in the cold. Not me, but a close friend had an affair with another close friend and got caught because she lost an earring in the bed. After the entire blowout of a friend group and lots of shaming on both of them, she says he raped her and everyone is stunned and doesn't know what to do. So to prove he didn't rape her, he had to show his wife and the police home security footage of the woman riding him like a horse while he was handcuffed. So he cheated, then was accused of rape and got to top it off by showing his wife a sex tape with another woman. Edit, we didn't all instantly start calling the woman a liar. We didn't have time to process a lifelong friend being a rapist before it was set straight and she started backpedaling. Please stop personal messaging me that I'm an asshole and didn't believe her. Her phone went off and she asked me what it said. I looked at it and it said, "I wanna bend you over and spank you." We were engaged and he had a drinking problem. He was blacked out drunk. Accidentally but dialed me. And I listened to the whole thing. Only to find out after that it was with a prostitute. That's awful. But sounds like you really dodged a bullet. Didn't happen to me. But my closest friend growing up. He was making out with his girlfriend in the back of her car, which at the time she had only had for a week, and he put his hand on the back of the car somewhere between the back of the headrests and the rear windshield. I guess the opposite of a dashboard. Anyways, he put his hand in a semi-fresh load of jizz. And her answer was that her gum must have flew from her mouth and land back there and the sun melted it into a jizz-like substance. Boyfriend finally convinces me to have a threesome after months of begging. I finally agree and our mutual friend comes over. Things get hot and heavy and when he starts ducking her he moans, "Damn, you feel even better than usual." Everyone freezes. He tries to tell me that he was thinking about my pussy while ducking her and that it just felt differently. But she felt so guilty that she confessed on the spot and begged me to forgive her. We don't really talk anymore, but last I heard she had been dating my ex for over a year. I found out my ex-boyfriend, dated from 15-18, had been cheating on me when, upon walking into the apartment he shared with his mother and two elementary-aged sisters. The youngest sister asked me, "When did you leave?" I asked her, "When was I here?" She responded, "You were here all night. I could hear you talking to X's name." I had not been there for 2 days at that point. I asked him what she was talking about and he blew bubbles for a few minutes before confessing. Good riddance. Edit, not sure if everyone knows blue bubbles means having nothing to say yet still talking. It may be local slang. Yes. Though. I do think the joke is funny.